Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't. We're here at elevation roughly 4,300 feet, okay, in what's known as the volcanic legacy, okay? Kind of a goofy-ass term, but I kind of like it. We'll roll with it for a while, you know? Anyway, so these are all basically, we're at the southern end of the Cascade volcanic chain, okay? And these are all volcanoes that are pretty, quote, recent, like the last couple million years, all right? The entire landscape here is volcanic. Every rock you're going to see here is volcanic. You could see the little basalt flow over there, all the basalt boulders and what this shit. Basalt, of course, being the darker volcanic rock. Then you also got andesite, which is an intermediate in composition. We'll get to that later. And you got rhyolite, which is basically a high silica volcanic rock, higher in silica than andesite or basalt. And, you know, basically the volcanic equivalent of granite. Jack, shut up! Anyway, so what we're doing over here now, we're going to look at some I guess there are a couple rare plants, a couple just locally endemic plants that are adapted to this kind of, you know, dry, hot summer, somewhat high elevation, you know, i.e. above 4,000 feet volcanic. So we're going to go up to maybe 8,000 or 9,000 feet, look at some stuff up there. Okay, should be pretty good. What you're looking out on right now is Arctostaphylos patula, the green leaf manzanita. Okay, pretty common. Ericaceae blueberry family gets these little berries on it that if you catch them when they're fresh, maybe you could make a drink out of them or something. They are edible, but they're not really palatable. Then they, of course, dry out. You see them in coyote and bear shit a lot. You can see the soil right here is, of course, heavily volcanic. Look at that. It's just weathered volcanics. It's just basically like volcanic sand. Very mineral rich, somewhat acidic, and you know, obviously a lot. It's actually a pretty good soil for a lot of plants to grow in. Let's start off with this plant right here, growing next to this bunch grass. This is Eriodictyon lobbii. Now some people have started placing this in the genus Nama. Boraginaceae is the family, formerly Hydrophyllaceae. Note the difference in the leaves. Okay, the leaves proximally closer to where the plant comes out the ground are greener, and then of course closer to that inflorescence they get very woolly. Of course the flowers are these you know, five fused purple petals, okay? And again, up near the top where the inflorescence is, where the flowering shoots are, it's you know, heavily tomentose, very woolly, okay, very hairy and shit, okay? Whereas down here it's just more glandular. Okay, very odd though, because Eriodictyon is normally a genus that's pretty large. Okay, yeah, you get up towards you know, 3 or 4 feet tall. Hey, you got maybe 10 or 12 species in it, but here you got this tiny little bastard, just right there. You know, topping out at 8 inches. Okay, and it's again, it's getting a little late to be flowering at this elevation. We're gonna have to go higher to chase those blooms. 4,000 feet is getting pretty dry in early August. Now this guy I want to show you over here, this is actually a pretty rare plant, okay? Iliamna bakeri, and it's, you can see it's done flowering. Malvaceae is the family, okay? Oh, you got a couple little. Now Iliamna is a genus, is pretty widespread across the United States. Of course you got that super rare one, the Kankakee mallow, only known from that little island in the Kankakee River back in the beautiful home state of Illinois, okay? But back when I was growing up, all we knew about Kankakee County, where it's from, is that they got a lot of tornadoes there, and there was always, you know, fucking houses being swept away and with the shit, you know? McHenry, Grundy, Kane County, all these rural counties, well, now they're probably miserable suburbs, as, you know, Chicago's expanded, but anyway. And you got Iliamna remota on the Kankakee River. This is Iliamna bakeri, and it, of course, is adapted to this climate. It's adapted to the dry summers with no rain. It's adapted to the volcanic soil. And more importantly, it's adapted to the fire. Okay? So I was here in 2011. You could see there was a fire here about 10 years ago. All the shit burned. You could see all dead trees and whatnot. Manzanita came back. That's fire adapted. The ceanothus came back. That's fire adapted. You get the ceanothus over there. Okay? With those psych ward green leaves. You got a nice lava flow over there too. Look at that massive lava flow. Yeah, that too, of course. And you know, everything was burned up, and there was no manzanita. It was all just charred sticks. But that Iliamna, it was the first year after the fire, first or second year after fire, that Iliamna bakeri, that fire-dependent Malvaceae that I just showed you right there, was just going off. There was thousands of them, and they were 4 feet tall, just lit up, pink hollyhock-looking bastards, just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, there were a lot less people coming out here then too. You know, obviously all these wilderness areas have seen a huge explosion of people, along with hashtag get outside, smartphone navigation, etc. But we won't get into that. So this Iliamna was just everywhere, lit up the whole goddamn landscape, and it looked real nice because you could see the naked rocks. Everything was burnt, so you could see this. I mean, even right here, this is just a big basalt flow. Okay. That Iliamna was just going off, so it's a perennial. It comes back every year as opposed to an annual, which you know, germinates, grows really fast, produces a ton of seed, then dies. It's a perennial, but it's still, you know, relatively short-lived. You know, 5 or 10 years we're talking. There are far fewer Iliamna here, you know, 10 years after the fire than there were the first year. But I guarantee you, those seeds are still in that soil. Tiny little kidney-shaped seeds, only about let's see, probably only 3 or 4 millimeters at most, you know, probably smaller than that. And it's what they do. They just wait in the soil. They'll wait their fucking 80 years. And then a fire comes through, scarifies them, gives them the heat treatment they need, and then boom, they just come up in mass. And there's tons of... I've been up in a red fir forest at 5,000 feet that burned. And the black totem poles of these 80-foot tall red fir trees were Abies magnifica, were it's still there, you know, but now it was an open canopy. Everything was burned. It was pretty much barren. It had just burned the year before, and there was Iliamna remota coming up here and there, which means, you know, it had been a forest before that, and that's a full sun plant, so it wasn't growing there when the forest was there. So it means that this plant had just come up in that red fir forest after the fire, meaning the seeds had been there, you know, since those, however long it took those trees to get, you know, 50, 60 feet tall, probably 50, 60, 70 years those seeds were laying in the soil, probably longer. So the seed's very long-lived, and it basically creates a soil seed bank, waits for a fire, and then boom, goes off. Okay, and if you want to germinate those seeds, you just give them a hot water treatment. There's probably a couple seeds in there right now. Maybe not yet. But you can see that the 5-lobed hibiscus-looking capsule covered in the wool. Yeah, see, there you go. Okay, you got the seeds in it, the ovules, aka the seeds, but they're not ready yet. They're still white. See that? But you could get an idea of how big they are. Okay, 3 or 4 millimeters at most. And again, in that woolly capsule, a lot of woolly bastards in the Malvaceae, in the cotton family over there. All right, anyway, let's move on. See what else we got going on over there. Oh, this guy survived the fire, no problem. As many ponderosa pines can do. Maybe he got a little scorched on the bottom, but you can see he's still green up top. Look at it. But he certainly, you know, he took a walloping, but didn't really affect his inner vasculature because he's, you know, got this thick bark. Ooh. There's nothing like cold running water flowing over volcanic rocks. This is actually a pretty deep creek. Goes about 8 feet down. Water just carved out the basalt real nice. But I want to show you a couple plants right here. This, of course, is your ubiquitous Erythranthe guttata. Okay, a monkeyflower. All right, remember the genus Mimulus, which used to be the genus for monkeyflowers, got split up into both Erythranthe and Diplacus. Diplacus tend to like the drier sites, and Erythranthe like the wetter. But of course, you got to compare the length of that pedicel right there to the calyx. Okay, you get that long ass stem that the flower sits on, and then there, of course, is the calyx. You can see the calyx by itself right there. You got calyx and of course corolla. Calyx, the green part, yellow, that corolla part, sepals, petals respectively, and that compared to that calyx, that petiole or that pedicel is almost the same length. Okay, so these little minute characters. There's a couple more character traits than that separate the two genera, but again, they were once lumped into Mimulus, the monkeyflowers, and Erythranthe, this genus, makes it down into Chile. Diplacus does not. Diplacus likes the drier sites. They tend to be a little bit smaller. There's some big Diplacus too, but Erythranthe made it to Chile. You know, probably a tiny seed did on the fucking foot of a bird 3 million years ago, however long ago, and then of course they radiated down in Chile. But you only get the genus Erythranthe Chile. Erythranthe nyandinus is one of my favorite monkey flowers. Anyway, so this is Erythranthe guttata, and it's, you know, you always see it in the wet spots. You know, you see that zygomorphic, bilaterally symmetrical corolla with the little red speckles on it. See the little dots? You can see the corolla already fell off there. You still got the style hanging out though. The seeds of these are tiny, tiny, sand grain size. But Erythranthe guttata I always see coming up around water. Okay, very, very common bastard. I think I've mostly ignored it in prior videos because it's so common. Other guy I got right here is a species in the evening primrose family, Epilobium. And there's a lot of epilobiums. You get the nice inferior ovary. The fruit is actually here. The stem on a lot of the Onagraceae, you know, the stem kind of becomes, well, it's not, it's the wrong way to put it, but the stem, you could think of it like that. They get these stem fruits. It's really just an inferior ovary that holds the flower, but this whole tubular bastard, you know, opens up and then the tiny seeds fall out when he's done. You can see this fruit's already maturing, flower's done, and these are still active, probably pollinated by something very tiny. Again, likes the wet areas. Okay, real quick, I promise I won't beat you over the head with this too much. Let's just do a quick banger on this. So these, you can see these are the fruits. Okay, these are done flowering. Said Erythranthe guttata again, and I was hoping to be able to show you how tiny the goddamn seeds are. There's the calyx still on there, and then inside that calyx is an ovary. Okay, I don't think I can. You know what? I can't do this fucking one-handed. Okay, so I got that papery calyx peeled off. You can see right there, got the papery calyx pulled. You can see the ovary right there, it just splits open. Just the hisses longitudinally, and then those right there are a couple of the seeds. You got 3 seeds right there, just looking like little specks of grass. Fucking tiny, okay? So you could see how easy it was from a biogeographical perspective for one of these to make the flight, the cross-equatorial flight, probably in the plumage of a bird or on a foot or something. Probably didn't shit it out, probably just got stuck on it. When it got there, when it got to Chile, however many millions of years ago, they just fucking went nuts and radiated, exploited the niche. Look at this nasty cyanobacteria. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put it in my mouth. I'm gonna put it in the mouth and take a bath in it. Oh, I love it, don't you like? Oh, you like cyanobacterial films? Huh? I'll give you $5, you put it in your mouth and roll around, put it all over, roll around naked with it. Oh yeah. Ooh, you like that? Huh? You sick fuck. I know you do. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry. You know what? I think this might just be an algae. You know, I got a little too excited because I love slime. But, you know, judging from the thready nature of this, but regardless, you know, it's still photosynthetic. How about that? Ooh, what's this guy? I do love a composite. Appears to be a Heterotheca. You can see how they get around everywhere. A weedy native. Look at those seeds. Look at those achenes with those pappus that just wind dispersal. Just itching for wind dispersal. Anyway, get up close, look at the leaves. You can see all the little trichomes, all the hairs and glands and shit. Smells absolutely great in only the way that a member of the sunflower family from a dry climate can smell. Highly glandular, of course. Lots of resins on those little glands. You can see multiseriate phyllaries, those little green bracts. Heterothecas again they're kind of like a weedy native. Okay, there's a Heterotheca species I've seen growing next to the LA River in downtown Los Angeles. All right, and it was appreciated. I saw that Turriridii growing there too. Surprisingly decent list of native plants in the somewhat bleak nature of downtown LA. You know, there you go. We're on the lava floor. I do love a Solanaceae. Here we got a species of Nicotiana. You can see a heavily glandular, like so many of the Solanaceous bastards tend to be. Of course, epicenter for that family is South America. Look at the calyxes. The calyxes are covered in glands, and it fucking stinks. Very sticky, and it smells like hell. And there's those salver-formed corollas, 5 fused petals. I guess the sepals are fused too in that calyx. 5 fused petals, and all the sexy parts are inside that tube. All the stamens and the style and shit. Okay, you can see you get the somewhat long, somewhat lanceolate basal leaves, and you got a couple caulline leaves too. But only this guy tops out of what, 2 or 3 feet maybe. That's it. Okay, so there you go. Some nice basalt. Don't you like basalt, you prick? Huh? Maybe a little bit. You could see this is all just one massive lava flow. Very young, relatively speaking, in terms of geologic time. Okay? And it looks like we got a little bit of a couple gas bubbles in that basalt. Remember, basalt, you got three main types of volcanic rock. You know, rhyolite, andesite, and basalt. Okay, moving from areas of high, you know, composition of high silica to more composition in basalt of you know, more iron and magnesium. Okay, basalt's a mafic rock. Okay, whereas rhyolite on this end of the spectrum, looking left to right, has more silica, less iron in it. Rhyolite tends to be lighter color. Rhyolite and andesite tend to be lighter color. Not always. You can't go by color, remember. But they tend to be lighter color. And basalt, of course, is always this dark black. So you can look up, get up close in there. You can see the vesicles from the gas. There was gas in this lava when it went off. Probably, I think this is like 9,000 or 10,000 years old. Pretty recent. Okay, you can see this. The air's a little hazy because there's some shit burning about, I don't know, 40 miles away. Pretty big wildfire going. It is this season. You can see Jake's already making his way up there to this pile of what appears to be andesite. Just giant andesite boulders. Just probably from a, you know, volcanic explosion last couple thousand years. Anyway, right here you can see we got a species of Penstemon newberrii. Very glandular. Got those trichomes on that lower the lower lip, which again, remember that lower lip is actually just 3 petals fused together, and then you got 2 petals fused together up top. Very hairy anthers, huh? All penstemons, of course, have saccate anthers, anther sacs that then split open and release the pollen, or make it accessible, rather. Nectary deep in that tube, and trichomes, of course, the hairs to guide, to manipulate the behavior of whatever ends up pollinating this. Apparently it's already been pollinated already. Corolla just came off. Like most penstemons opposite leaves, these have a rather serrate margin. Anyway, let's keep going. We're up at about 6,000 feet. Let's go a little higher. So we got a close relative of the chestnut right here. This is the dwarf chinkapin from the oak family. Chrysalopus sempervirens. Flip those leaves over. Abaxial surface is that nice golden color. You got 2 species of Chrysalopus in California. One, Chrysalopus chrysophylla, is tree-like. Can get upwards to 90 feet tall, at least where you got enough moisture. They like moisture. They stay close to the coast. And then you got this guy, which is a montane species, Chrysalopus sempervirens, tops out about 2 or 3 feet. You know, the air smells like kind of smells like an old comic book store. So that the burning lignin and cellulose. You know, like a comic book store where the guy who works there smokes a lot. He's a chain smoker. You know, like some of those nasty Pall Malls. Something like that. Oh, yeah. Incredible how much this plant does look like chestnut. I mean, it's closely related to chestnuts, the castanea. But again, oak family. Here you got the catkins. Staminate catkins, male flowers. About, I'd say, probably 12 stamens to each individual little flower. Okay, so each one of these little spikes has probably, you know, upwards of 20 flowers on it. There's the female flower, already been pollinated. Actually, that's not a flower anymore. The flower is gone. Now it's just an ovary. And you can see it's just covered in, you know, these little spikes, which now are kind of fuzzy, but in about a month or two, they'll be very spiny and incredibly sharp and painful to touch. And the seeds inside, the nuts, are, of course, edible. You know, being closely related to castanea, to the chestnuts, but you gotta wear leather gloves or something to pull these things off. I mean, they're so fucking painful to touch. There's those staminate flowers again. You want to get a nice money shot of that. This is an evergreen plant. It's not deciduous like the chestnuts. Sempervirens, of course, gives it away, that species name. Okay, and pretty common. Okay, very common. You can see there's a large patch of it over there, looking through those trees. And of course you just got all kinds of goddamn lichen. You got the wolf lichen, that day glow stuff, and then you got other little glorious bastards right there too. Look at that, just covered. That fire is probably pretty bad. Maybe it's closer than 40 miles. I don't know. It's either closer than 40 miles or it's just that enormous. But look at that sugar pine right there. Pinus lambertiana with those long-ass cones. Oh my God. Another one of the, it's a member of the white pine group. Got 5 needles per fascicle over there. And then over here, look at this guy. This guy's a real stunner, okay? You wouldn't know he was in the blueberry family. He's in the, of course, the Monotropa subfamily. Monotropa is that plant that all the New Age hippies and herbalists like. You know, it looks cool, and so because it looks cool, they think it's got some medicinal properties, but it is, in fact, mildly toxic, but that doesn't stop them from making the potions out of it to put in their ass, and God knows whatever else. Bunch of hoopla. You know, they don't seem too interested in the ecology of it, but, anyway, I'm going on a fucking rant here. Anyway, this is a Sarcodes sanguinea, member of the Monotropa subfamily of the blueberry family, Ericaceae, like I said. Here you could see it's in fruit already. It's already done flowering. It's achlorophylous, meaning it doesn't produce chlorophyll. Probably doesn't even have the genes to produce chlorophyll anymore because it's gotten itself into a relationship. Well, it's a descendant of a plant that originally got itself into a relationship with mycorrhizal fungi in the ground, and then that relationship in all members of this subfamily of the blueberry family, the Monotropoideae, that relationship has since become one-sided. It's parasitic. So all members of the blueberry family are mycorrhizal. That is, they're symbiotic with the fungi, which, you know, help them acquire nutrients. They give the fungi a little bit of the carbohydrates they produce during photosynthesis, and the fungi in turn, you know, protects them from drought a little bit more, protects them from pathogenic fungi since that root space is already occupied by the mycorrhizal fungi, and it also helps them acquire nutrients that they may not be able to get because, remember, the fungi has those mycelial threads that can, you know, basically increase the reach of the roots, and those, of course, the mycelium then uses enzymes to digest other stuff in the soil, break it down, and then share some of that nutrients with the plant. Anyway, again, I'm going off on a fucking rant here, but you can see, look at the bracts on this. So no leaves, no chlorophyll, doesn't photosynthesize, and is probably, this species too, like Monotropa, is probably somewhat toxic, but you can see vestigial, those are vestigial leaves, just acting as bracts on that inflorescence right there. And look at it. I mean, just glistening. So you got another month or two. These will dry out. There's a bunch of tiny seeds inside. They crack open, and then the seed gets dispersed and blows wherever the fuck. Over there, you know? Blow over there somewhere. Land in the soil. It's really odd how these things germinate. I don't believe much is known about them. But of course, like orchids, they need a fungi for their seed to germinate. Okay, and this is a pretty common plant. Common name for it is a snow plant. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear it or not, but to the soundtrack of Jack's neurotic panting, I'm going to try to give you a little explanation as to how this little landmass was formed. So this is andesitic lava. It's not basalt, okay? And looking at the little, see, I drew you a little diagram. See, you like that? More silica towards the left, and more iron and magnesium towards the right, i.e. the mafic rocks, okay? And these are all extrusive igneous rocks, i.e. lava, volcanics, okay? If you're dealing with intrusive igneous rocks, they got their whole different suite of rocks based on these compositions, you know, i.e. more silica, i.e. more iron, okay? Granite would be the equivalent of rhyolite, gabbro would be the equivalent of basalt, and they have a larger grain size, i.e. larger crystal size. But you're going to have to, yeah, I can't explain that now. I'm already fucking running over time. You're just going to have to look that up or reference one of the intro to geology videos I made. So this is andesite. It's in the middle, intermediate in composition right there. Now, why this is important is because each rock type, each composition has its own story. The more silica you got, i.e. the more rhyolite, the more explosive a volcano is going to be because that magma doesn't flow very well. i.e. it's more viscous. It's like roofing tar, whereas basalt, Hawaiian style lava, you've seen some of the videos when that shit was blowing off a couple years ago, and that lava was just flowing. You know, it was flowing like water almost, okay? roughly, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit water, but it was still flowing. Okay, andesite is intermediate, of course, but again, being intermediate, having more silica, it does not flow that well. It's pretty viscous. So this was not a calm and soothing lava flow like you get in Hawaii. This was rather explosive. You get different volcano types based on the type of magma composition that you got, whether it's basalt or rhyolite or andesite. So this was quite likely a very explosive eruption. Mount Lassen is nearby. Mount Lassen last blew up, I believe, in 1917. Would have been a sight to see. Okay, but anyway, so this was an explosive eruption, and all these boulders are basically just pieces of magma that cooled. And the grain size, of course, is not very big. You can't really see the grain size. They're covered in that black lichen right now. I wonder if that lichen is actually the fungus in that lichen. I wonder if the fungus is actually decomposing that rock. Probably a little bit, but remember, you got that photosynthetic symbiont in there too. You got that algae in there too. That's probably bringing home most of the bacon, but I'm sure the fungus is, probably eating away at the rock a little bit with some of those fungal enzymes and maybe adding some nutrients to the mixture. Either way, the lichens are pretty fucking cool. They get overlooked a lot, but they're pretty cool. So this was a rather explosive eruption. You could see the talus, the giant boulder piles everywhere. It did not flow smoothly. It was, andesitic. It wasn't basalt. Again, just very, very viscous lava, very explosive, tends to plug up a little bit, and then, of course, the gas builds up and just boom. Mount St. Helens was, I believe, andesite. Certainly wasn't basalt, but Mount St. Helens, of course, being a very explosive eruption. Anyway, let's look over here. I want to show you a plant that's got a very odd distribution, okay? It's a rare plant. First off, it's a fern. Some of you may not get too jammed about ferns, may not get too excited about it. It's Sarcodes again. It's an old one. May not get too excited about ferns, okay? But each their own. Ferns, once you learn about them, they become a lot cooler. Okay, now this plant I'm going to show you, you probably can't even see it right now, but we're looking right at it. This plant is rare in California, but it's got a disjunct population as far away as fucking Iran. You got some in the Rockies. But everywhere it grows, it's relatively rare. It's a rare occurring plant. But again, having a fern with the distribution, that's got disjunct populations 10,000 miles away is not too hard to imagine, since remember, ferns don't produce seeds, they produce spores, and those spores can get picked up on the wind. This is Asplenium septentrionale. Oh yeah, there you go. So it just looks like a blade of grass from far away, but you get a little closer, like right there, and you could see those little black, those are the sori, and there's spores inside of there. Okay, sori is just a fancy word for a spore-producing organ on the abaxial surface, almost always on the abaxial surface of a fern frond. So, there you go. Those little sori will open up, disperse the spores, and it's just this little, just really easy to overlook, okay? But it's got a really cool fucking story behind it. It's a weird plant. Ferns, of course, are a, quote, ancient lineage, okay? They're one of the oldest lineages of plants. So, anyway, there you go. Maybe not too much to look at, but I think it's pretty fucking cool. I think it's pretty fucking weird that this thing is only known from this area in California. I believe there's one other spot. I think it grows in the San Jacinto Mountains down in Southern California as well. But aside from that, it's just known from here. And then there's a population in the Rockies. And then, of course, you get it, across the fucking Atlantic Ocean, in the Middle East. Just very weird distribution here. And who knows, there's a lot of questions to ask. Why didn't this population diverge and end up looking different from the population that's 10,000 miles away? How did they get there? How long have those populations been separated, etc.? So I actually been wanting to see this guy for a long time. Just looking like little blades of grass. And I mean, we didn't see anywhere else. We came up, probably half a mile up this damn hill composed of andesitic boulders. Didn't see any more. So, real odd, real weird one. Oh yeah, sorry money shot right there. Little bit blurry, but not too bad. It's not too bad. You can get some nice graphic depictions of what's going on there with the reproductive structure of this dainty ass little fern. It's so nondescript. So there you go. Asplenium septentrionale. I believe there's also a population in West Virginia too. Same thing going on though. Rocky montane habitat. Growing out of cracks and rocks in the mountains. Brick. Jack's a goddamn mountain goat. Okay, hey, all right, I get it. Come on, just take it easy. Hey, Jack, chill out. You know what? You've been on pepperoni restriction for a week already. I'll put your ass back on there. Okay? What's with the tood? Huh? Look at this. Look at this lichen. It'd be a real easy way to break your ass. You know, just put your foot on a rock that's not exactly level. It's got some lichen on it. Boom, you just slide right off and break your ass right there. Okay, gotta get down on the ground real quick to show you another cool plant, and then we'll wrap this up, and you can go on with your day, and I'll tell you to go fuck yourself. There you go. There's, remember the Ericaceae? Chimaphila. And the interesting thing I wanted to show you about this, I mean, this is still in bloom, which is out. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them have gone to fruit already. You can see that ovary looking like a little Turk's cap on top of those flowers. Then you got the anthers subtending. But if you get close, you can see the anthers. This plant, like many, almost all, as far as I know, well, not all members, but a lot of members of the Ericaceae, as well as some members of the Solanaceae, and quite a few more plant families, have something called poricidal anthers. So that just means the anthers have a pore on top, and that's for buzz pollination. You can see that little hole, looks like little tubes right there. That's for buzz pollination. It's a way to act as a pollen dispenser, so you're not just dumping all your pollen at once. You know, you give it in metered doses to the pollinators, which is a much more efficient means. You know, if you only got so much pollen, you dump it all at once, you're not going to end up pollinating as many flowers, okay? But if you only give it in little doses, because all you need is a little bit, pollen's going to last a lot longer, and you're going to have a more successful pollination rate. Okay, and the interesting thing about these is bees trigger that release of pollen from those poricidal anthers by just vibrating their wings. You could do the same thing with the tuning fork if it's vibrating at the correct amount of hertz, which is mostly, I believe, above 400 to 500 hertz. So this is a Chimaphila. There's the leaves right there. Very common component of montane coniferous forests out west. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer on those anthers. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see those openings in those anthers quite well, even though those anthers are pretty much ready to break off. This flower's toast. It's done. That ovary's already been pollinated. Look at that sticky green stigma. You could see all those, you could see it looks kind of wet almost, just ready to receive the pollen. I'm telling you, man, when you start talking about flowers, it gets lewd quick, okay? So that ovary's already swelling, www.swollenovaries.com. That stigma is still glistening with its wetness, and then you got those poricidal anthers, which are, getting dry and crispy, but you can still see the pore in there. And then, of course, you got those reflexed, inward curved, petals right there. Okay, and a lot of members of the Ericaceae do this. Okay, manzanitas do this, madrones do this, blueberries do this, and then, of course, convergently, that is, they're not homologous. Two families do not share a common ancestor, direct common ancestor. Solanaceae does this as well. Potatoes, tomatoes, all that shit, they got the poricidal anthers on there, which, the adaptive benefit of which being that you it provides pollen in metered doses, so you're not wasting your resources. Okay? Can you see that? You got enough of that over there? What a nice flower. I've seen some cool Chimaphila in the Oaxacan cloud forest down there in Mexico. Which, are they still letting our nasty COVID-ridden American asses into that country? I don't know. What an interesting time it is, huh? Jesus Christ. Just feel so listless lately. Just like I'm not doing anything, I'm feeling kind of stir crazy. You feeling like that? You're not alone. You're kind of losing your shit, anxiety and depression creeping in yet. Maybe a little bit. Don't feel bad. It's not permanent. Might last another year, but it's not permanent. And you just got to adapt and roll with it. What the fuck are you going to do? You gonna stop a fucking pandemic? I don't know. Probably not. Okay, well, that's all I got for you today. Hope you had a nice time. Hope you learned something. We're gonna keep moving on. And look at all the chrysalopus. There's a shit ton of it. Just clambering over those andesitic boulders. All right, that's all I got. Go fuck yourself. Bye.